Welcome to the Downtime from WTWH Media with your hosts, Sarah Wynn and Sheri Kasprzak, bringing you everything you need to know from the week in manufacturing.
All right, finally, the Downtime has come back to your speakers. We are a weekly manufacturing podcast from WTWH Media. I'm Sarah Wynn, Senior Editor for Packaging OEM, and I'm one half of the Downtime Divas, here with my tag team partner,
Sheri Kasprzak, and I am the Managing Editor of Automation and Controls here at WTWH Media, and that includes plant engineering, control engineering, and consulting specifying engineer. And thank you so much for joining us once again on the Downtime. We're always glad to have you here.
It's always a pleasure. And you know, Sheri, last week we talked about pumpkin spice, so I am wearing a hat that says pumpkin spice everything.
I love it. It's the season. And hey, as you can see, I've got my cozy sweater. If you're watching on YouTube, I have my cozy sweater because it was a little chilly here in New England today, and I am so ready for fall. So
yeah, there's some fall vibes going on in this, so I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yeah, a little crisp in the air. We love that.
Yes. All right, we ready for some headlines?
Let's do it. All right. So yeah, I'll kick us off here. Over at Plant Engineering, we've got a feature that really ties into today's episode. We talk a lot about data and analytics and how they feed into things like predictive maintenance strategies. We've got a great piece over at Plant Engineering on how to accelerate predictive maintenance strategies. You can go check that out. That is by Kelly Kolotka. And I will, of course, link this article over at LinkedIn and everywhere you can find the podcast. Kelly is an analytics engineer at Seek. So if you want to know more about that, go check out the article. But over at Plant Engineering, this piece really goes into things like sound maintenance procedures and how analytics can really feed into those strategies. You know, you can leverage predictive maintenance strategies and advanced analytics to proactively address equipment issues. And we love that. We want to make sure that our assets are reliable. We want to make sure that we can increase profitability, and you want to be able to minimize downtime, but not this downtime. You know what I mean? So
I knew it was coming. I could feel it in my bones.
Yep. We talk about downtime all the time here. So go check that out at plantengineering.com, and I will link it wherever you can find our podcast. Sarah, what have you got for us?
Definitely make sure to follow Plant Engineering on LinkedIn too. Quick shout out, Plant Engineering.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. Follow all of us. Follow. Packaging OEM. There's a big event happening at the end of September in Sin City, and we are ramping up for it. Our interview segment today features Jonathan Mitchell, Senior Applications Engineer for Emerson. He talks about PackExpo. We'll get into that in a second. But leading in, a lot of news is already rolling in. We have over at PackagingOEM.com, Somic Packaging's 434 Superflex Case Packer. It will make its debut next month at the show. Designed for consumer packaged goods, CPG, the system features a compact footprint, magnetic levitation technology, and an energy-efficient design. This is a quick plug, too. We have an energy efficiency ebook that's on our LinkedIn page, on our website under resources. Check that one out, too. And find out which types of products that the Superflex Case Packer works with over at PackagingOEM.com. That's a little tease for you. It's a little tease.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds great. Yeah, we're really looking forward to all of the coverage from PackExpo in Las Vegas. So can't wait to see what you find out in Las Vegas in, I guess it's just like a couple of weeks, right?
In the desert.
Fast. I know. It's coming up fast.
Yes, believe it or not. Time flies.
It does, yeah.
When you're having fun on the downtime.
Always. So, yeah, like, speaking of, we are already kicking off our PackExpo preview with this week's feature. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Sarah?
Definitely. And I want to highlight, too, we have some more PackExpo preview content coming in addition to today's interview, which I'll get to in a second. I've spoken with Gary Pickett from JLS Automation. I've spoken with Matt Jones from Hoosier Feeder about what they are presenting. We'll have that in the coming weeks. Stay tuned for that. Keep listening for that. And we'll have all of that on social as well. I'm saying that quite a bit. In terms of today, we spoke with Jonathan Mitchell. As I mentioned, he's a senior applications engineer for Emerson. We talked about PackExpo, packaging technology, industrial automation, and energy efficiency, another energy efficiency plug. The convo covers Emerson's Florida Cloud approach along with solutions for packaging lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, data touches so much in what we do. We talked to Jonathan about predictive maintenance and the importance of that sort of data-driven efficiency in industrial settings. So really loved that part of the conversation. He was super helpful in kind of laying out how data really feeds into that, predictive maintenance strategy. So yeah, it was a great conversation.
We had a great time with him. He was a joy to speak with. He will be at PackExpo in a few weeks. I will be there. Packaging OEM will be there. We're going to stop by the Emerson booth, meet Jonathan in person, and bring back all that content to the Downtime.
Can't wait. That'll be awesome. In the meantime, why don't we hear from Jonathan and take a listen to our great interview?
Jonathan, thank you for joining us. Do you want to give us a little introduction about yourself, how you got to Emerson?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. I'm Jonathan Mitchell. I've been with Emerson coming up on 10 years now. So I started in 2016, right at the beginning of it. My background is in engineering. I went to school for material science engineering and did that for a few years out of college. But ultimately, I started to move into industrial automation because that's what I think is really interesting. So I started primarily just focusing on the valves and pneumatic valve side of the business. But over the past, I would say 5 years or so now, I've been involved with our applications engineering team, which I'm very happy to be a part of. In that role, I get to still be a customer-facing part of the company, but I get to focus on solving technical issues. And I get to stick with them kind of from the initial inception, just a customer coming to us with a question about how do I do something, or this thing that I'm trying to do isn't working, all the way through, designing a solution and seeing it implemented, which I'm very happy to be a part of.
Definitely. Thank you. And so, Jonathan, most of the questions I sent over are packaging related. Sherry may have some more control or plant engineering topics to throw at you, but I'll just get started.
Sure.
PackExpo is right around the corner, and Emerson will be there. Can you tell me more about Emerson's Florida Cloud approach?
Yeah, sure. Well, Florida Cloud's kind of been I guess it's been our mantra for a couple of years now, about 3 to 4 years, I would say. And most manufacturers are present in maybe one or two parts of a factory, right? Emerson has spent the past several years kind of developing and aligning its portfolio so that we are present across the entirety of most facilities, right? That means we have everything on the floor level, right? That's things like actuators and sensors, valves, the individual devices out on the factory floor. Those feed up into a line of controllers that we have, and maybe along the way have a little bit of analytics done by an edge PC or an industrial PC that's out on the factory floor. But the controllers taking those inputs, they start to run logic on them, and then they can pass them up to another layer above them, the HMI or a SCADA system, if it's a plant-wide system, where the operators of the plant are able to get a digest of all the data that's coming in from every various sensor, going in through the controllers, any sort of logic that's been done, any sort of analytics, kind of presented out, and then they're able to make an informed decision based on what they are seeing. In our world, we call that the see, decide, act cycle. But that's sort of where Emerson's Florida Cloud idea came from, and that's how it's been implemented. As an applications engineer, I'm in a sort of unique position because I get to see all of those elements come together as we're often pulled into conversations with customers who may start the conversation with a simple question of, this isn't working the way I thought it would, but usually the conversations end up turning into a much more holistic, big picture conversation about, well, let's take a look at the way that's being integrated at your facility. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that later.
Yeah. Do you want to just tie in any packaging related tie-ins?
Well, I mean, it's present in everything, but in packaging, obviously, we see a lot of pneumatic actuation. It's known for being high speed and repeatable. So Emerson's present in there. We're monitoring the airflow, the air usage, parameters about the air. We're also able to monitor various diagnostics about the valve manifolds that drive the actuators. In some cases, we're able to monitor the actuators themselves. And we can take those things and do analytics with that kind of to get a sense for, how much into a device's lifespan is it, sort of going down the element of preventative maintenance, or just talking about efficiency, overall operating efficiency.
Yeah, you mentioned all of this data. One thing that I, am curious about is some of the practical applications for using the data that's being gathered. Things like predictive maintenance. Can you kind of run us through some of the benefits of the analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I've seen as an applications engineer was an application in which we have, it's very normal for folks to have valve manifolds all over their facility, right, when they're using pneumatic actuation to move around. We have always had valve manifolds as far as my experience with Emerson. A handful of years ago, we also started offering an airflow sensor. And it didn't take long before we started to try and integrate the two of them together. So what we ended up doing is we've taken an industrial PC, one of our IPCs, and it's sited out at a field. It takes in the data from the valve manifold, kind of keeping track of what valve is firing and when. And then it also maps that against the data that it's getting from that airflow sensor, saying how much air is each valve using. So after a week or 2 weeks kind of burn-in period, as it learns how much air each valve should be using, it sort of establishes a healthy baseline. And then over time, all pneumatic systems leak, right? This is not a mystery. If you go into any facility that uses a lot of compressed air, you hear the hisses from all around. So those leaks don't develop overnight, most of them. They are a sort of slow and gradual process. And by taking in this data of knowing how much air each valve slice should be using, we can sort of set guardrails and say, okay, well, this valve should be using this much air. And as it starts to veer out of that, we could maybe set an alert on an HMI and just say, hey, by the way, you may want to check this. Maybe there's some preventative maintenance that should happen. If it veers entirely out of those guardrails, though, say someone disconnects a hose unknowingly as they're doing maintenance on something else, that's going to show up right away in that flow data. And because we're doing the analytics, we can build in multiple cases and say, oh, we're seeing way too much air usage on this one valve. So maybe that's an immediate action thing instead of next time you go around the factory floor to do a PM sweep, right? So that's a very applicable application, I think, for the packaging industry where pneumatic actuation is kind of ubiquitous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of the key trends you're seeing in packaging now, what are they and how is Emerson helping solve those?
Well, so the key trends, I guess, Emerson is not so much steering those trends. I would first point out that most of that it's always being steered. The person with their hands on the wheel is, at the end of the day, the consumer. And it's that consumer that is going to look at the packaging in a store, in a retail environment, and that packaging might convince an undecided consumer to go with one brand over its competitors. So the consumers are kind of setting the trends as far as I can see in my little world of engineering. But Emerson is there to be the best partner that we can be for the OEMs and the integrators that we work with. That's certainly never been a question, right? So these days, we see a lot of focus on sustainable packaging or packaging that somehow contains messaging about the values of the brand behind it. I think everyone's seen something like that. In some cases, companies get lucky, right? They get to just kind of change the way they print something. They hire a graphic artist. They do a little bit of visual redesign, and that's enough. But in some cases, we're seeing people move from maybe plastic single-use containers to a sort of paperized version of that, or a less packaging option is starting to get very popular. In those cases, it's often necessary to retool the packaging line almost entirely. So with that in mind, Emerson does provide a number of things, I believe, to our customers, right? In our off-log linear actuators, we use a modular system to connect multiple actuators together to get complex movement, complex actuation. And that modular system makes it easy to retool. It also makes it possible to take an existing system and add or change one of the actuators in a set of actuators to get slightly different motion. So you can adopt a new design without having to scrap everything on your packaging line, right? So that's I think a large help. The Aventix valve manifold systems are also modular. So you can switch out valves, which is, anyone who's used a valve manifold in the past, that's kind of status quo. But we also offer some field I/O that connects to our valve manifolds, and that can also be swapped out. So if you suddenly need in a new sensor, or you're going to connect an I/O link device out at the location of your valves for the first time, we offer the ability to just add that into your valve manifold. And all of that can be configured through our PLCs, or through any PLC, I should say. And they speak a variety of field bus protocols to support all the different customers out there. On our industrial PC and PLC side, we use a lot of modular design as well. We'll talk briefly about the PLCs, right? On the PLC side, we use one standard runtime across all of our sizes, all of our models of PLCs. We also use one standard programming tool as well. And that gets really important when we talk about, kind of bringing it back into the packaging field, where people are changing their packaging lines, and they do have to keep up with trends, because that is a competitive advantage ultimately to the person selling the packaged good. They want to keep up with these trends. If you think about it as someone who has a machine at your site, if you have a standard controls engineer maintaining a machine after they commission it, you may have a couple hundred hours of engineering time sunk into that one machine. If you consider an integrator offering a single project, that may be true as well. But if you start to look at integrators that offer life cycle support, or an OEM that designs these machines and commissions a lot of them for their customers, you get into the thousands of engineering hours over the development and then the maintenance, the upkeep part of the controller's life cycle. So when we get to the end of life for that controller, oftentimes it's necessary for engineers to sit down and kind of start from square one again. We offer that single runtime. So all of our code is transportable between our PLCs. And we also offer that single programming tool. So in most cases, you're able to keep almost everything that you wrote for your last generation and move it forward. And I think that by respecting engineer time, the cost of that engineering time for our customers, that's a solid line of support that they can't always get in other places. On our industrial PC side, everything's also modular. I know I'm talking a lot about modularity, but at the end of the day, I think that in a highly dynamic environment like packaging, where trends are kind of changing constantly, which necessitate these engineering changes kind of constantly, having modular design is a huge help, because it keeps what you can keep and then allows you to develop something new. So on our industrial PCs, everything's sort of containerized in our operating environment, which we call PackEdge. And PackEdge is also composed of a handful of widely adopted open source tools like Node-RED and Grafana, and that allows customers to really own and develop their own environment beyond what we're able to provide them. So we've had customers install custom modules before to do various elements of either machine learning, or they'll do image recognition, and they'll put image recognition on a container, and it just runs alongside everything that's already running on our industrial PCs. So I think in that way, we're able to be the best partner. I know that was a long-winded response.
It was great.
Yeah, you mentioned the modularity aspect, and certainly that's important in packaging. Are there other industrial applications that you can point to where that modularity is kind of an important, component?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so we've seen some serious serious wins in just general factory automation with that modularity, right? And again, it comes from not only do you have the ability to modify an existing design, that sort of iterative design process is, I'm finding, more widely adopted today than it was, say, 25 years ago. But we're also seeing that modularity come in handy when it comes to just simplifying a factory, right? Because now you don't need maybe 400 different parts to do something. You can stock a standard set of 9 or 12 actuators and kind of combine them in different ways to get motion profiles that fit your needs across a wide range of applications. And, you know, at the end of the day, no one wants to have 400 different actuators sitting in their tool crib unused most of the time. And when it comes to recovering from an unexpected downtime event, that kind of modularity really helps people get out of a bind in the fastest way possible. And in every industry, obviously, time is money.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Definitely. Before we get into PackExpo preview, Jonathan, could you just share a little bit about your story? How you did you always want to be an engineer?
In a way, I would say, yeah. Leaving high school, I had no idea really what I wanted to do. I had previously worked in print media, radio and television, and done scenic carpentry. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I did know that I excelled in math and science, but I also just enjoyed problem solving. And these days, you know, as an adult, it's easy to look back and say, what I really had going for me was I like an optimization problem. And that's like a very niche type of problem. And it is loved by, you know, nerds worldwide, whether they realize it or not. And some non-nerds, quite frankly. It's not as boring as it sounds, but it does sound pretty boring. At the end of the day, I think the drive to take a system, you know, take it apart, put it back together and make it better somewhere along that way is ultimately what kind of drove me. That was what really put me on the path of engineering, whether or not I knew that's the path that I was walking down at the time. But that sort of continual improvement mindset is pretty common in our field. And I think a lot of people outside the field have a lot more in common with engineers than they think, because they also are kind of cut from that cloth of looking at a process and going, well, I'm pretty sure there may be a better way to do that.
Definitely. Thank you. A man of many talents. You had interesting background. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sheri, do you have any before I get into my last PackExpo question?
You know, we talk a lot about sustainability, and you touched on air compressors briefly. Air compressors are a topic we talk about a lot, especially at plant engineering. You know, can you talk a little bit about sort of an energy efficiency aspect of, you know, how gathering data and sort of getting ahead of maintenance can really enhance things like energy efficiency, especially in things like air compressors that can use a lot of energy. So how can plants sort of, you know, be more energy efficient by gathering data?
Sheri, I'm so glad you asked. So I talked about detecting a leak in a manifold.
Right.
Which is sort of like the end of that tree, right? If the trunk of that tree is the compressor, it branches out. You have conductors all around your facility, large diameter pipes kind of shrinking down. It's a lot like a tree in most facilities if you were to just look at the compressor system. So we accept that we want to solve as many leaks as possible, and that's why we do something like leak detection out at the point of use. That and of course the benefits from kind of fixing issues before they become large issues. But at the end of the day, we also recognize that it is not, you know, physically, mentally, or fiscally possible to remove every leak from an air compressor system, right? They are ubiquitous. They form on their own, and they develop slowly over time. So generally, once they become large enough to be measurable, that's when something gets done about them. But there's a lot of little leaks throughout every system. So one of the things that we've looked at doing as well is saying, all right, we will take it, you know, as an axiom. We will accept the fact that every system will have leaks. And this was born out of something we did with a tire manufacturer. And ultimately, it ended up being a good idea a good enough idea to move to other industries as well. And so we sort of offer it as a productized system now. We take our airflow sensor, the AF2 airflow sensor, right? And we monitor over time the air usage of an entire pneumatic line, right? We're not just looking at a valve manifold anymore. We're looking at either a machine or an entire line at a time. And we're looking for its regular usage because most machines also don't have 100% duty cycle, right? They will operate for some amount of time and then they will be either taken offline for a little while or shut down overnight, or there's a 15-minute break in between shifts or something like that. And what we noticed is that, I mean, if we leave it at full pressure, the airline going out to that line, at full pressure, all of those leaks that we have accepted, they must exist in our system. They're going to continue leaking exactly what they always leak. But what we can do is we can lower the pressure going down that line because those leaks will still exist, but they're going to now leak less air, right? In a typical factory, I don't know the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but the ballpark that I've heard is about 30% of the factory's energy is going to go into air compression. And just about 30% of that compressed air is going to get wasted. It's going to leak over the lines. Obviously, those are broad brush numbers. Some factories are going to be better. Some are going to be significantly worse. But what we discovered in the process is that if we are able to lower the pressure out to those devices, out to the factory lines, we can reduce those leaks, and it makes it much easier for us to just jump right back into action when the machine wants to get going again. I mentioned we discovered this at a tire manufacturer, and one of the issues that they had run into was that they wanted to reduce that leakage, and so they had the bright idea, well, we'll just cut air pressure to the line when we're not using it. That works, and it does completely eliminate the leaks. But what it does not take into account is that some machines, some devices, some entire lines are designed not really to have time where there's no air pressure. It's taken for granted the idea that there will always be some amount of residual pressure in the system. So shutting it down actually made startup incredibly complex for them. Starting up from zero air pressure in the system made it that they had to power on individual segments of this line in a certain order so that everything would work together well. And what we found is that there was a minimum air pressure that the machine could tolerate going down to and then still recover as if it hadn't lost a beat. And that's really where this was born. So we combine a airflow sensor, a little edge computer to do the analytics, and then we also use, in line with that airflow sensor, we have our proportional regulators, which can be fitted into our FRL assemblies, the filter regulator assemblies. And so we can drop down the air pressure being delivered to that device when it's not in use. And we can either detect that automatically using the airflow sensor saying, okay, it's only using 30% of what it normally uses. I believe we're now at idle. Or we can just take in discrete inputs from a system. If there's a PLC that's controlling a system and it wants to send us a tag to say, hey, I'm going into hibernation now, we can drop the air pressure for it. So that's an easy way, right, to sort of tackle it without kind of going wild, chasing down every single leak, sending maintenance up into the rafters, trying to find every single leak at every single joint. One of the other things that we have started to offer is a sort of productized energy manager. In our Movicon SCADA software, we have a ready-to-go system called Pro Energy, which monitors energy usage. I mentioned before that sort of see, decide, act cycle. Obviously, energy monitoring is fairly easy to see. Most folks have energy monitoring in some capacity in their facility, and if not, it's always easy to put a small energy monitor out in the field. Pro Energy is really, it's at the heart of that decide area, right? It pulls in energy monitoring data from any number of energy monitor sensors, and then it kind of displays it all out so that you can break it down by device or break it down by area, break it down by cost center in some facilities, right? They have multiple lines running next to each other, but on different cost centers. And then it allows people to make informed decisions about, hey, maybe we don't need this running 24/7. Maybe this is This is something that we should be doing in off hours. Obviously, if the company is paying for their energy in peak hours, being charged a higher rate at peak hours in the day, maybe they say, all right, well, we're going to take the most energy intensive operations and move those off of peak hours because we are paying significantly more for that energy, despite the fact that it's just energy. It's the same kilowatt hour at 9 a.m. as it is at 12 a.m. It just costs more, or 12 p.m. It just costs more at 12 p.m.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great answer. So thank you.
Jonathan, before I ask my last question for PackExpo, I'm going to leave the floor to you. Is there anything else you want to highlight?
Well, is your last question, what should folks come by our booth and see?
It is. Do you want to go straight to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some things that are absolutely worth highlighting there. We've got a handful of demos coming to this year's PackExpo. If you're walking down the main aisle to see us, you won't be able to miss our this year is going to be called our control tower. It's pulling in data from all the demos in our booth, but it's also pulling in some data from Emerson sites across the world into our MobiCon SCADA system and kind of showing that off. So if a SCADA is something that you're interested in and you're interested in kind of seeing what it could do, then absolutely stop by to see that. We also have a demo that's showing leak detection using a sensor from Rosemount. This is for devices. This is for packaging systems that use modified atmosphere packaging. Right. That's like when you're at the supermarket and you buy ground meat. It comes in that shrink wrapped package. What's inside there isn't oxygen. It's not normal air. They'll load it with an inert gas to keep the meat from spoiling and also to keep that nice red color. One of the biggest issues with doing that is package integrity. Rosemount has a sensor solution, can adapt to a variety of types of package, and we've got that at our booth. It's connected to one of our HMIs as well, so you can see what our operator interface looks like, and then it has a little conveyor system connected to it that also highlight a number of our parts. I myself am working on building a demo for a variety of things, but it's going to be a representation of a CIP system. So we're going to show off a clean in place screen for our MobiCon software, but we're also going to show off the valving that goes into that, our new XV valve manifolds, the 290 angle body valves, which are great in food and beverage because they are offered with sanitary tri-clamp connections. And then the other one to really highlight is we have a kind of full featured demo, which is featuring a lot of things from the OFOG line, which is exciting for us because it's relatively new in the Emerson family. So it has a bowl feeding solution, and it's taking parts from their part containers and assembling a ballpoint pen right there in front of folks. So while that's not strictly speaking a packaging application, it does show off a lot of the OFOG line, from the feeding to the handling, the various different types of actuators that we have there. I think it's nice to see it all working together. We'll also have a high-speed pick and place and kind of your standard PackExpo fare. So by all means, if any of that sounds interesting, come by and see us. We also have a small innovation stage where we're giving talks throughout the course of PackExpo. So if you're interested in hearing about that, you can come by and hear me wax on about compressed air management some more. And you might learn the history of compressed air in an industrial setting. Spoiler alert, it's like 400 years old.
A little tease there. Oh, thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jonathan, I will see you at PackExpo in just a few weeks.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for inviting us on here. This was great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And thanks so much for filling us in on all we need to know about compressed air. It's a great topic over at Plant Engineering, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All righty.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was a great interview with us, and we can't wait to see what you have to offer at PackExpo. We'll be looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you to the Emerson team. We will now move into the lower half of our show. It is a game time segment. We have another game, Sheri. It is called Finish the Phrase. One of us will start a sentence and the other will finish it. For an example,
all right.
If I were a packaging machine, I would be, and I could say, the one that always jams because I'm dramatic, but memorable, All right, the first one up. My dream break room snack would be, Sheri, what's your answer?
My dream break room snack. That is a good question. I don't know. See, I'm not a huge snack person, so I don't know. I guess anything with chocolate. Like I'm a chocolate lover, so yeah, maybe
This just ends
M&Ms.
Sheri's
Maybe that would
not
be my
into
answer.
Sheri's not
Yeah.
into snacks. I like honey roasted peanuts, and I like them a lot. That's my answer.
Nice. Love it. All right. So, let's see. The one tool I can't live without at work is
It's got to be my stabilizer. If you see me at shows with my little knapsack on my back, I've got the stabilizer in my hand. So it's a DJ Osmo stabilizer. That's lock it in.
lock it in. All right. My answer, well, obviously my laptop. I mean, I can't do anything without that. And having gone without Wi-Fi this past week, I don't know. Maybe I'll put Wi-Fi at the top of the list, even over my laptop, because it's been a challenge to work without Wi-Fi.
I guess I should have said my iPhone because everything runs through my iPhone. But my stabilizer is my little accessory. I'll say that. Sheri, the weirdest email you've ever received would be.
Oh, wow. I've gotten a lot of them, a lot of weird ones. I think,
All from me.
I don't know that anything really yeah, yeah, all from you. No. I don't know that any of them really stand out. The ones that I just think are odd are the ones that have nothing to do with what I do. It's kind of like, hey, check out this thing that has nothing to do with what you cover. So probably that.
For me, I worked in local and national news, and I'm still on a lot of press release contacts. I don't know how they found my new email, but they did. A few weeks ago, I sent this to Sheri. I got an email about pierogi recipes. Pierogies are very popular in Cleveland, so I think that's why I got it.
Yeah. You get the
They're good.
best nonsense emails. Like you always get the best ones.
I got another one about royal surnames. Wynn wasn't on it.
Wow. That's really odd. And I'm surprised. Wynn is very royal because it's hashtag winning.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, what's up next?
All right. Up next, the weirdest thing on my desk is
I have a Stone Cold Steve Austin action figure. He lives on my desk. My stepdad got him for me. It's actually a pair. He's not alone. I have a Triple H and a Stone Cold.
nice. Oh,
Are you surprised?
He has a pal. That's awesome. I'm not
Yeah.
at all.
That's me. And of
Right,
course, the
so
Wynn
for
van
me-
lives on my desk.
Yeah. Of course, you got to have the Wynn van. So here's mine. In fact, I can show you here. I'm going to reach over. This guy is so weird. Now, a little bit about me. Yeah, this is a mask that I got. You can see he's so cool looking. I'm not exactly sure what the origin of this mask is, but I love masks. And I don't know, in the background, you can kind of see some of the masks that I have, but it's kind of a collection of mine. And here in Providence, there is an amazing shop run by a superstar, and it's called Pop Emporium. And they have so many quirky, cool, vintagey, things. And so I picked up my friend here from Pop. I think he has real porcupine quills as his little beard here. So yeah.
Look at him. Look
Yeah,
at those
he's a cool
shades,
guy.
too.
yeah, I had to put my cool shades on him. So
Nice.
yeah.
Sheri, when you log into work in the morning, what's the first thing you do?
Oh, let's see. Well, it's got to be check my Slack messages because I generally have dozens of them waiting for me. So I have to check my Slack messages, check my email, see who I need to get in touch with for the day. So that's how I start my day. How about you?
Oh, I check my email and then I send Sheri a good morning, Slack.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm listening to Glorilla. Good morning. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to.
hmm
All right. What is the home office perk that you would never give up?
I've worked from home for a few years And I love being with my dogs. I have 3 rescue Shih Tzus. I've posted about them on my social before. I love being with them. And I actually do have 2 bosses. We have Stephanie, the goat, the head of the table, who's been on the show several times, and my 8-year-old Shih Tzu Bling, who is the boss of my entire life. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know. I think mine is going to be like the ability to kind of work wherever. Like if I want to go to my favorite cafe, I love my little cafe, and I frequently just randomly pop up there. If you try to reach me on FaceTime and you're all of a sudden like, oh my God, you're outdoors. So I love the ability to kind of like take my laptop anywhere and get some work done while I'm having my coffee. And my favorite coffee shop in Providence, it has rom-com vibes, so I'm convinced it's like just this cute little movie set. So it makes me feel like, I'm a character in a movie.
I love that. And a few things. Sheri had the cutest shirt on the other day. She's going to have to wear it on the podcast. I'm not going to spoil it. I loved it. And 2, our colleague Anna, she also bops around to coffee shops.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see you guys out and about because I never leave my house.
Aw, you should. Highly recommend it.
I'm being sarcastic a bit, but I like working at my desk. It's just my thing.
Of course.
Next one up, the weirdest Zoom background you've ever used.
That's weird. I don't think I've ever used anything particularly weird, but I'll tell you the thing that about Zoom and backgrounds and little features that stick out to me. Like, do you remember the story back around COVID? There was an attorney who accidentally turned himself into a cat and couldn't turn it off. That's the story about Zoom backgrounds and little features that like sticks out in my mind. That was weird. Yeah.
That was funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I like making really weird Zoom
You do
backgrounds.
awesome ones. Yeah.
I've done this. I did this when I worked in local news. I would have a different background every day for our call. But for this role, we featured it on the podcast a few weeks ago. It's a AI image of my 3 dogs wearing Packaging OEM tracksuits, sitting on the 50-yard line at Ohio Stadium. Like, yeah, chef's kiss.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I already know your answer to this because I'm on the other side of those all the time. But how do you stay connected to your remote colleagues?
Oh, I FaceTime them constantly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I don't even ask. I just do it and I pray that they answer. And it's yes, Sheri gets a lot of FaceTime calls. Yes.
I get a lot of FaceTime, but I love it. And we're always chatting. And I don't know. I think it's some form of texting. Like I like to text folks, and I don't do phone calls very often. You know that you're like one of my favorite people if I call you on the phone. I'm always going to text you, or and if we're like hanging out still like at work, I'll just Slack you. So
yeah, if we're on Slack chat. But no, Sheri gets a lot of FaceTime calls from me. I should add them all up by the end of the year.
exactly.
That's my answer. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, all the time. I will always take your FaceTime calls, Sarah.
And I want to point out Sheri has called me, so she must like.
I have. Exactly. See?
All right.
That's how you know. Yeah.
That would be the end of Finish the Phrase.
Yeah, that was super fun. And I hope you played along if you are listening to the podcast as well. We always love an interactive moment. So let us know what your answers are. Drop them in the comments. Follow us over on LinkedIn. We always like a good, lively conversation. And follow us so you don't miss any episodes. As you all know, we drop new episodes every Thursday. And you can always see what our latest thumbnail is going to be. And Sarah, I know that you loved the last one that we created, which was super fun. We did like a little play on Three's Company. So follow us just to find out what our thumbnail is going to be. We've gotten a lot of comments about people, telling us which ones are their favorites, and that's super fun.
Yeah, there's some unique ones, and they all come from the brains of Sarah and Sheri. It's a kooky place to be. I do love the Three's Company one that just came out with Mike Santora. I also love the Sound of Sustainability.
That was a good one.
And when you put us on the turntable.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, and the Shark Week. I could just keep going on and on and on and on and on. But we have to end the episode.
It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this brings us to yet another end of the downtime, Sarah. It's always sad to see it go, but We will always be back next week.
We'll be back better than ever, probably with the pumpkin spice. Thank you for listening. Signing out from the Downtime, Sarah Wynn with
Sheri Kasprzak, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.